Okay, so get this. What if your house plants, right? Like what if they're, gossiping about you?
Oh, now that's an interesting thought.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I know it sounds crazy, but scientists, well, they're finding that they actually make sounds,
Mm.
and especially when they're stressed.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It really changes how we think about what communication is in nature.
Yeah.
So we got some YouTube videos and news articles about this, about plant sounds and like the science behind them.
Yeah, so basically like what we want to do in this deep dive is well, unpack what this research actually what it says, right?
Right.
And why plants might be making these sounds
Mm.
and like what does it even mean for us?
And I think we're gonna challenge some assumptions about plants,
Yeah,
along the way.
totally.
Yeah.
So first up, we'll get to address like the elephant in the room,
Okay.
or should I say like the very vocal tomato plant.
Yeah.
So apparently studies, they're showing that plants like tomatoes and tobacco, when they're like super thirsty or, if they get cut, they emit these ultrasonic clicking sounds.
That's right.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is, well, these clicks, they aren't just random.
Yeah.
Researchers have found that there are different types of clicks,
Oh.
varying in their frequency and how intense they are, like depending on like the kind of stress the plant's going through.
Oh, okay.
So a thirsty tomato, it's going to sound different from a tomato that's, just been pruned.
Wait, hold on. So different types of clicks. So are they sending out like a plant SOS?
Hmm.
Like, hey, over here, need water? Like, no.
Well, I mean, we can't say that for sure yet.
Yeah.
But, a machine learning algorithm, well, it was able to sort these sounds out with an accuracy of over 70%.
Wow.
So if a computer can tell the difference between a thirsty click and like a cut click, then, it's possible that other organisms can too.
That is wild. Like, imagine if we could actually listen to crops and like pinpoint what they need.
Yeah,
That's a game changer.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, if we could say, okay, this plant needs water, before it starts wilting,
Yeah.
or we could tell if they're pests based on the sounds the plant's making,
Yeah.
that could lead to like much more efficient farming.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah.
So how are plants even making these sounds?
Yeah.
Is it like, are there tiny vocal cords in their stems?
Not quite that dramatic.
Okay.
Scientists think the sounds are linked to a process called cavitation.
Cavitation?
Yeah, in the xylem.
Yeah,
So the xylem is like the plant's, basically it's plumbing,
Okay.
transporting water and nutrients.
Gotcha.
And when that flow of water is messed up, air bubbles form and then they collapse. And that's what creates those clicking sounds.
Oh, okay. So it's not like they're like consciously choosing to make noise.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So then why are these sounds being like transmitted through the air,
Yeah.
like meters away from the plant?
Yeah.
That's more than a byproduct, right?
Yeah, that's what makes this recent research so interesting.
Okay.
Older studies on cavitation, they focused on vibrations inside the plant itself.
Uh-huh.
But these new findings, well, they suggest that the sounds, they're loud enough to be picked up, at a distance.
Okay.
So it really begs the question, like, are these sounds, some form of communication?
Okay, so if plants are talking, like, who are they even talking to?
Well, there are a few possibilities.
Okay.
Like one hypothesis is that, plants are signaling to other plants.
Okay.
Maybe, like warning them about drought or pests.
Okay. So like, it's like a neighborhood watch,
Yeah.
but for plants.
Exactly.
Like a leafy version of next door, like sharing the latest gossip
That's right.
about aphids or,
Uh,
dry spells or whatever.
Another theory is that, they might be attracting like beneficial predators.
Okay.
For example, some plants release scents that attract parasitic wasps, and those wasps attack plant-eating insects.
Right.
So maybe the sounds are another way to like call for backup.
Okay. So like wasps assemble.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
got a caterpillar situation.
Exactly. And some researchers, some even think that the sounds themselves, they might deter herbivores.
No.
Certain compounds like nicotine, it's naturally repellent to insects. So, it's possible that the sounds are just kind of amplifying that.
Okay. So it's like a sonic shield, like, hey,
Yeah.
don't even think about taking a bite out of me.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a fascinating area of research.
Totally. Yeah.
And we're only beginning to like really scratch the surface, you know?
Yeah.
But it really raises some big questions about, how we interact with plants.
Right. Because if plants are sending out these signals, are we picking up on them?
Yeah.
You know, and even if we can't hear them, what about the animals that can?
Yeah.
I mean, what does this mean,
Yeah.
like, for the whole ecosystem?
That's a great question, and that's what we'll get into next.
Yeah.
We're going to explore the world of plant communication beyond sound and look at what these discoveries mean.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it's mind-boggling to think that there's this whole other level of communication happening, and we just we don't even know.
Yeah.
But plants, I mean, they're not just using sound, are they? What about all those chemical signals?
Right. Plants are, they're masters of chemical communication.
Mm.
They release these volatile organic compounds,
Oh, okay.
or VOCs,
VOCs.
into the air,
Okay.
and those, carry information.
So we're talking like plant perfume.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Yeah.
These VOCs, they act like invisible messages. They can trigger responses in other plants.
Okay.
Or even like attract or repel insects.
Gotcha.
Like think about that bluish haze you see over forests sometimes.
Uh-huh.
That's partly like VOCs from trees.
Okay, so
Yeah.
but are there like any like concrete examples of how these VOCs work?
Well, there was this one study where scientists, they genetically modified a mustard plant
Okay.
to light up when it sensed certain VOCs.
Okay.
And then they exposed it to like the smell of a damaged plant,
Uh-huh.
and the whole leaf lit up.
A glowing plant.
Yeah.
That's like straight out of Avatar. So are they basically warning each other?
Right.
Like danger, danger, hungry caterpillar approaching.
Yeah, that's one interpretation.
Okay.
Some VOCs, like green leaf volatiles, they're released when a plant is like being eaten
Right.
by an insect.
Okay.
And those volatiles, they can attract like predators of those insects.
Oh, so it's like a plant 911, right?
Right.
But if they're communicating about danger and all that, does that mean they're feeling pain?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole ethical thing, right?
It's important to remember, like, the research, it doesn't tell us whether plants experience pain
Okay.
or or sentience in the way that we understand it. I mean, what we're seeing, it's their ability to respond to their environment
Yeah.
in complex ways.
Yeah.
Using these signals, these chemical, acoustic signals.
Right. So we're not saying that plants are like, conscious the same way that humans are.
Right.
But it does make you think about our relationship with them.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
if we could hear them, would we treat them differently?
It's a good question. And, speaking of hearing plants, remember that machine learning algorithm?
Yeah.
Some researchers think that kind of technology could, it could revolutionize agriculture.
Yep.
Imagine farmers being able to listen to their crops
Right.
and know, when they need water,
Right.
nutrients,
Yeah.
protection from pests.
Yeah, that's incredible. So we could reduce water waste, right?
Right.
We
Yeah.
could minimize pesticides and even increase yield.
Exactly. Yeah.
But is there a downside to that? I mean, are we exploiting plants if we're like using their communication to like, our own benefit?
I mean, that's a valid concern.
Yeah.
As we dig deeper into this, we're going to have to like face some tough ethical questions. Just because we can use this technology to, manipulate plants doesn't mean we should.
Right, right. It's like we're, entering this whole new frontier in plant science.
Yeah.
And we need to be careful.
Right.
So what are like the biggest unanswered questions?
Well, for starters, we still don't know like how widespread this whole sound production thing is.
Yeah.
Are all plants doing it?
Yeah.
Or just some?
Yeah, yeah.
And if other organisms are listening in on these like plant conversations, like what are they hearing?
Right, yeah.
How are they like interpreting the messages?
And are there other sounds that we haven't even detected yet?
Yeah.
I mean, we're just scratching the surface here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so much more, to explore.
Yeah.
And the more we learn about this, the more we realize how interconnected everything is.
This is blowing my mind. Next time I'm in my garden, I'm going to look at my plants like in a whole new way. I mean, who knows what they're talking about, right?
Well, maybe under your feet as well.
What do you mean?
Well, one area of research that's really interesting is how they communicate underground.
Wait, underground? Are we
Yeah.
talking like roots tapping out Morse code?
Not exactly Morse code, but plants can actually communicate through like these networks of fungi
Okay.
called mycorrhizae
Mycorrhizae. Okay.
that connect their roots.
So it's like the internet for plants.
Yeah, you could think of it like that.
Okay.
These networks, they allow plants to exchange nutrients,
Okay.
water, even like chemical signals.
So they're not just competing for resources, they're actually like helping each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Wow.
Like older trees can actually share nutrients with like younger seedlings
Wow.
through these networks.
That's amazing.
And plants that are, under attack, they can send warning signals to their neighbors.
Oh, wow.
So they can, start preparing their defenses.
It's like a whole like underground community
Right.
with like plants, supporting each other and sharing information.
Yeah.
But that also raises some questions.
Yeah.
Like what happens when we disrupt these networks?
Yeah, I mean that's a really important point. When we clear forests or till the soil, we're often breaking up these fungal connections, and
Ah.
and that can have a big impact
Right.
on how healthy the ecosystem is.
So it's like we're severing the communication lines
Right.
between plants
Yep.
and preventing them from sharing like vital information. So
Right.
this isn't just about understanding plant communication like for the sake of it. This has real implications
Exactly.
for how we,
Yeah.
how we manage our forests, our farms,
Yeah.
our whole planet.
Absolutely. And as we dig deeper into this, we're going to have to like really rethink our relationship with the plant kingdom.
Right. It's not just about, what we can get from plants.
Right.
It's about, recognizing that they have like agency,
Right.
that they're complex.
Yeah.
That they play, a vital role in the web of life.
Exactly.
And it's about understanding that our actions have consequences,
Yeah.
for the whole ecosystem,
Right.
from the tallest trees to, the smallest, tiniest fungi,
Right.
connecting them.
Yeah.
Speaking of fungi, I've always thought of fungi as like, the things that grow on bread,
Yeah.
but they're actually playing this crucial role
Yeah.
in plant communication,
Yeah.
right?
That's so cool. Fungi are, I mean, they're often overlooked.
Yeah.
But they're essential to life on Earth, and their partnership with plants, I mean, it's one of the most, it's one of the coolest examples of like symbiosis in nature.
Totally.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things we can like learn from this partnership?
Well, one key takeaway is how important that interconnection is.
Okay.
Plants and fungi, they've evolved to work together, supporting each other, sharing resources.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that, we're all part of this larger web of life,
Totally.
and that we depend on, our ability to cooperate with other organisms.
It's like that saying, no plant is an island.
Exactly. Yeah. And this interconnectedness, it goes beyond like just, the physical networks.
Okay.
Remember those VOCs we were talking about?
Yeah.
Some scientists, they're starting to think of them as like a form of language.
A language.
Yeah, a way for plants to communicate not only with each other, but with the whole ecosystem.
So it's not just about like sending out, distress signals,
Right.
or attracting, pollinators.
Yeah.
It's about something more like more complex.
It's possible, yeah. And if that's the case, I mean, that means we've barely scratched the surface of understanding what they're saying, how they're shaping the world.
This is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
So what are the implications of this? If we start thinking of plants as like having their own language, does that change how we see them?
I mean, it's a big question, and one that we're going to explore in the next part of this.
If plants are like, communicating in ways that we're only just beginning to figure out, does that change how we even view them? Are we talking about like plant consciousness?
That's a question that's going to challenge a lot of our assumptions about nature. I mean,
Yeah.
for so long we've had this very human-centric view
Yeah.
of intelligence and consciousness.
Right. Like if it doesn't have a brain that looks like ours, it can't be, thinking or feeling.
Exactly. But, the more we learn about plants, the more we, realize that intelligence, it can take many forms. And their ability to, communicate, adapt, even solve problems, it suggests a level of awareness that we're only just starting to understand.
It's like we've been underestimating them like for centuries.
Yeah.
We've seen them as like these passive, objects.
Right.
But maybe they're a lot more dynamic and complex than we've, ever thought.
Yeah, I think that's very possible.
Yeah.
And the more we get into this, the more we have to question our own like definitions
Yeah.
of consciousness.
Yeah.
Does it require like, a brain like ours, or could there be other forms of consciousness based on different, biology and processes?
So it's not necessarily that like plants are thinking the same way that we do,
Right.
but they're clearly, responding. They're making like decisions
Right.
that benefit them.
Right. And it's worth noting that, a lot of indigenous cultures, they've recognized plants as sentient beings
Oh, that's interesting.
capable of, communication and even wisdom.
Yeah, so it's like Western science is finally, catching up
Yeah.
to what indigenous knowledge has known for a long time.
Right. I think we can, learn a lot
Yeah.
from indigenous perspectives.
Yeah.
They offer a different way of seeing the world, one that recognizes how connected everything is,
Yeah.
and how important it is to respect, the natural world.
So maybe we need to like, shift our thinking from, what can we get from plants
Yeah.
to, what can we learn from them?
Yeah, I mean plants have been around a lot longer than us.
Yeah.
They've developed these, amazing strategies
Yeah.
for survival, for resilience. There's so much knowledge there if we just, are open to it.
It's almost like they've been trying to, tell us all along,
Yeah.
but we just haven't been listening.
We haven't been paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe now we are.
Yeah.
And the more we, learn about this, the more we see, how connected everything is
Yeah.
in nature.
So what does all this mean for us? How does this change our like relationship with plants?
Well, on a practical level, this research, it could change how we do agriculture.
Right.
Imagine being able to listen to crops
Right.
and know when they need water or food, or if bugs are attacking them.
Yeah, we talked about that, but it's not just about, efficiency, right?
Right.
It's about, recognize them as partners,
Right.
Not just like resources.
Exactly. This research, it challenges us to see them differently.
Yeah.
With more respect, and to think about, the ethics
Right.
of what we do.
Like should we be manipulating them
Yeah.
for our own benefit? I mean, is there a risk of exploiting them?
Those are big questions.
Yeah.
And I don't think there are easy answers.
Right.
But this research, it forces us to, have these conversations.
Yeah.
To think about, their rights.
Yeah.
And our responsibility.
To the natural world. It's
Yeah.
like we're at this crossroads.
Yeah.
We can keep treating them like they're just, objects.
Right.
Or we can start seeing them as active participants
Right.
in the web of life.
And I think, what we choose, it's going to have like a big impact
Yeah.
on the planet.
So next time I walk through a forest or even just like tend to my houseplants, I'm going to try to like see them differently.
Yeah.
To imagine, the conversations they might be having, the connections, the wisdom they might be sharing.
I think that's a great approach. The world's full of, mysteries, and plants are showing us some of those mysteries now. And
Yeah.
and it's up to us to pay attention.
It's amazing to think that, something as simple as listening could change our whole view
Yeah.
of the world.
And maybe even change how we interact with it.
Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of plant communication. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little more like connected to nature.
Yeah, me too. It's a good reminder that there's always more to learn.
Yeah.
more to discover and more to appreciate about the world around us.
Well, until next time, keep those ears open, those minds curious, and remember the plants might be listening too.
They might be.